Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hang out with a couple of nerds.
Nate the Nerdarch.
Nerdarchy is Ted.
And today, Nerdarchy tells you 5 ways you're playing Dungeons & Dragons wrong.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
Alright, so we have 5 rules that get misquoted all the time in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. What do you got for me, Ted?
Alright, so we got a list. Do we want to go through them or are we going to do them one by one?
Let's go through the list and then we'll go back.
Alright, so a bunch of these are related towards combat. So we've got the Colossus Slayer under the Hunter ability. We have got the spells Hunter's Mark and Hex. We have got the Cleric's bonus damage at 8th level. We have got Great Weapon Fighter, fighting style. And we have got Perception.
Wait a minute, you're telling me people mess these rules up all the time? They seem pretty straightforward, and I don't see what there is to actually mess up, dude.
There is a lot. So first off, Colossus Slayer. The actual bonus says once a round, and I've known a number of Rangers that are rolling it every single attack.
Just like extra damage.
Extra damage. That D8.
Wait a minute, I got Rangers in my game. Are they cheating?
It's recorded, so you can always go back and check.
So literally, that Hunter archetype, once a round, as long as the creature is damaged, you do a D8. End of story.
So I wonder how many people out there, your Rangers, are they cheating you?
I know I played it wrong for a while in Heather's game. I was like, it's extra D8 damage every single attack, and he was a Ranger rogue, so he got 2 attacks every round.
You heard it here, folks. Ted cheats.
Happened. So then Hunter's Mark and Hex, both incredibly useful spells.
They're very similar to in how they operate.
Right, yes. And you cast a spell on a thing, you hit it, it does an extra D6 damage. No problems there. Problem is...
Oh wait, are they using it too much?
No, it's every time you hit, you do the extra damage.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. And that's pretty sweet because that is awesome if you get a lot of attacks.
The problem is once that creature falls or you decide that you want to put it on another target, it actually takes your bonus action to move it to another target.
So you feel like people are messing this one up all the time?
They just like, okay, well, I killed that guy. I'll just put my next attack on that dude. And people are using bonus actions for a variety of things these days, so they don't think like, oh well, it takes my bonus action to move it. They just boom do it.
You bastards! So I wonder, are your Rangers and Warlocks pulling a fast one on you guys? Check them. Especially the double Ranger, because you got them cheating with Colossus Slayer, you got them cheating with Hunter's Mark, all kinds of cheating going on here.
Or misunderstanding of the rules.
Yeah, it could very well be that. I wouldn't just, call everybody out and say, you're a cheater, you're doing this wrong. Be like, were you aware? And then if they continue, well, then they're cheating.
Because they're aware.
All right, so this one is less of a problem in the games that I've seen.
Yeah, because clerics really don't swing their weapons too much.
Unless you're going war cleric, you're probably not caring about that 8th level ability where you do an extra D8 damage. But... that, like your Colossus Slayer, is only once a round as well.
Now, that's not going to come up very often, which is probably why it's not going to be looked up rules-wise very often.
So, yeah, people will just read it, and once they've gotten the gist, they stop, and they don't see that second part that's like, you can do this once a round.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, unless you're actually a war cleric, you don't actually get multiple attacks.
Or if you go cleric and mix it with a martial class that bestows a second action, or you do something where you're fighting with 2 weapons,
or hasted, or all that other kind of stuff.
So there's a couple ways that you can wind up getting access to multiple attacks, but regardless of it, that D8 from your 8th level ability is just the once around.
Right. So essentially, what we're saying is clerics cheat a lot less. It's not because they don't want to cheat, but it's because they just have less opportunity to cheat.
All right. Now here's one that I probably found happens in a lot of games, and
this one is actually really common. And you've actually kind of gotten into fights with people online about it. And
no. We'll get to that.
Oh, we didn't get to that one.
Yeah. Great weapon fighting, great weapon fighter, the fighting style, it allows you to re-roll your weapon dice and when you get a 1 or a 2. Well, I have seen that if you wind up getting access to other damage, like you're using a firebrand or something along those lines, that DMs are allowing any 1s or 2s in the entire dice pool. And when you combine that with Savage Attacker, and you're re-rolling any dice that comes up as a 1 or a 2, not only does this really slow down the combat, but it's not actually designed, it's not actually the way the fighting style is designed.
Or the designers intended.
Right. It's supposed to be just your weapon damage. So,
and this is really the worst when you're combining it with Rangers, Warlocks, Paladins, because anything that's going to give you more dice to roll, a bigger dice pool. And
so if you got a Paladin fighting with a greatsword and Savage Attacker and the Great Weapon fighting style, I was like, okay, well, I've got 7 dice here, and you drop it, and oh, look at that, 3 of them or 4 of them are 1s, and they're on the d8s. Well, they're not supposed to re-roll those. It's supposed to be just your d6s for your greatsword.
Yeah, although it would be great if it wasn't. We actually saw that get a lot of use in one of the games we played in. It was abused so bad.
Absolutely. So that one, again, I'll reiterate, handle things at your table as you will, but the rules as I see them, the rules as I believe they were intended, they totally mean just your weapon damage.
Yeah,
and
whatever it is in the PHB, that weapon, that day.
And here's the one I jumped the gun on.
Here's the one you jumped the gun on. Here's where I've actually gotten into arguments with people. I've actually talked about stuff. You may or may not have seen the super perception video or character archetype that I built. Totally have the ability to get up to a passive perception of 30 by, not a super high level, but it's totally doable. Problem is if you're new to GMing or you're not familiar with all of the rules, that becomes an unsurmountable task. And the GM that I actually played this character in, she was like, well, I'm just not going to bother with traps because Ted will just see them. And I felt bad every time she mentioned it. And so I brought it up in a conversation, and Dave was like, oh, well, if you actually look in the player's handbook, it actually talks about ways that you can bring that score down pretty quickly.
Granted, bringing a 30 down to a 20 really isn't that helpful. But
you didn't see this epic level trap.
Right. Well, I think I was like 15th to 17th level by the time I was at a 30.
So there's 2 factors that take into consideration.
Right. So you have
speed and lighting.
Speed and lighting is exactly it. Now, when you're talking about a passive score, there's rules for disadvantage equals a -5, and things will wind up stacking. So if you're not moving at half speed, you suffer a -5 to your passive perception, and that's on page 181, 182?
181.
So in order to notice threats, which to me would mean someone hiding or traps, you're just going to suffer that -5 unless you're...
And on that one, it specifically calls out a -5. Right. So that's a big thing. Because, can you do double disadvantage twice on perception for the passive? It's not really clear, but when you look at noticing threats, it does just say, it says you have disadvantage on your passive, which is a -5, right? So it tells you what it is. It says -5. As a DM, I'd probably rule you could stack those because it actually gives a number penalty.
Correct. So then with your lighting, if you are in dim light, you don't have enough of a lighting source, or the light is out into the distance, you're not going to see the creatures hiding, or you might not see that trap until you're already on it.
So there's a couple ways that this is actually important.
And that rule is also on page 183 of your player's handbook.
So the one thing that comes up, if you're using a torchlight, you might have bright light for 20 feet radius, and then after that, so one, it means if you are able to spot threats, you're not likely to spot them until they're much closer, right? Until they hit that 20 feet, or you're probably talking about, demi-humans like your elves and your dwarves and your races that have dark vision. Well, they're not even, a lot of times they don't bother with light sources, so they're always in dim light. So they technically always have that -5.
with those situations, you can have a character who is super geared towards that. I've got expertise in perception, I've got the observant feat, and I've got a decent wisdom score. And once you get to a high enough proficiency bonus with a high enough wisdom, you can really rack up that score. But if you're not following these little nuances, you're really taking 10 off of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times. So to take full advantage of it, one, they have to move slow, half speed, and two, they are going to have good lighting, right? Which is also kind of like a dead giveaway in a dungeon, or out in the open. People will spot you from miles away. So there is things like that.
So those are just some of the things that we've come across, things that I've observed that happen wrong sometimes, even at our own tables.
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
We did something wrong.
And like I said, I know I fully was doing some of this stuff wrong, specifically with the ranger stuff, because I fell prey to what the general consensus was. It's like, oh well, that's what it does. All right, great.
So, as always, guys, you can always play the game however you want, as long as your players and you, the GM, all agree on it. Whatever's fun for you. You can chuck these rules as you wish, and whatever's fun at your table is totally cool. You can cheat all you want. So with that, guys, like, share, and subscribe, and put your comments down below.
You can patronize us in a good way over on Patreon.
Or you can follow us on Twitter.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.